Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. Now, today, we're going to be answering the question, why do I keep taking the same mistakes over and over again and expecting the same results? Because, and actually, some of us may not even realize we're doing this, because I know I was in that exact same spot where I kept taking the same actions again and again, and I was expecting different results. And there's actually a quote from Albert Einstein that states, the definition of insanity is taking the same actions over and over again and expecting different results. Now, I don't necessarily believe you guys are insane. I just believe that this is the way your subconscious mind works, and you're not really aware of you subconsciously taking these actions, right? So, and also, oftentimes we need a perspective shift because we just don't see that we're getting tunnel visioned in on one option, when in reality, if we just took some of our energy someplace else, we can likely get around that obstacle that we're facing, and then stop self-sabotaging ourselves and actually be able to achieve that goal, or whatever it may be, right? We want to start eating healthier, we want to start working out, we want to ask a woman out, we want to start working on our side business, whatever it may be. We want to start going to bed early, we want to give up alcohol, but we keep taking that same action and thinking, how come I'm not getting there, right? And it may not even be an action towards that goal either. It may be a different kind of action that's holding us back. So I want to talk today about this. And there's been a couple things that have brought this idea up to me. So I recently heard a story. I'm doing a training with Nakula Das. You guys may have seen the video, the podcast interview I did with him. He talks about this story of a fly. A person's in a airport and they're watching this fly just run into a window over and over again, trying to get out of this window, right? And it's literally taking all this energy. Like, it's gonna die from just running into this window over and over again. And yet it's still gonna continue to take those same actions. This lady's just watching it, thinking about how she's that fly to continue to take the same actions over and over again. And right down, like maybe 10 feet down the other way, there's an open door. So if the fly would just stepped back and looked, hey, there's an open door, right? Now, flies and different animals like that aren't really as consciously aware as humans are. And this is the thing. A lot of humans are not actively using their conscious mind. They're not really as consciously aware as they could be. And that is something I do help people with. And that's a great way to start overcoming self-sabotage, to start being more consciously aware of the actions that you're doing. And that's really what this podcast is going to be talking about, is how to increase that conscious awareness and to realize when you're that fly running into the wall. Now, similarly, I was at work. I work at Wells Fargo in a call center, and there's this window. We're on the bottom floor, and there's a little window ledge, and there's a little red cardinal bird that comes up, stands on the ledge, and flies into the window over and over again. Last year, the bird, I'm not sure if it's the same bird, but did it for days and weeks. We're literally just running into the window over and over again for hours throughout the day. And this year, around the same time, the bird is back running into the window again. And it makes me think about that exact story, and then my experience being that fly, or being that bird, that red cardinal bird, just running into the window over and over again and expecting a different result, expecting to be able to go through the window, when all really that's the obstacle that I should be trying to go around, because that's not going to be the way through, right? I'm running into a brick wall. And for many of us, we're running into that brick wall that is our subconscious mind, and we're just running into it over and over again, trying to get around it. But we have to take a different action to get around it. We have to become more consciously aware and be like, why am I hitting this wall? How can I get around it? Is there an open door around here? What is the way through? Instead of just running into this wall over and over again, wasting our energy, wasting our time. And so for me, I did it in many aspects of my life, right? One of the things I wanted to start doing was to stop drinking. And that was, I've been sober now for 4.5 years. But before I became sober with alcohol, before I quit alcohol, There was a period where I was drinking alcohol pretty much every day. I wasn't, drinking amazing, like a ton amount. It was probably just like a Coke and whiskey at least every night, sometimes two or three. But when every time after work, I'd be like, oh, I need a Coke and whiskey. Now, of course, I was also getting high with marijuana at the same time, so I was getting twisted. But every time I would get high and drunk afterwards, I'd think, tonight's the last night. Tonight's the night, or tomorrow's the day. I'm gonna quit drinking alcohol and stop smoking marijuana. And so I would just enjoy the rest of my night, get high and drunk still, enjoy my playing video games all night, distracting myself in whatever way possible. And then I'd wake up in the morning, you know, and I'd have that urge. I want to smoke marijuana. And I would smoke marijuana usually before work, and then I'd go to work, and then I get back from work and I'd want a Coke and whiskey. And I would literally go into a cycle. When I was sober, I wanted to smoke and drink. When I was high and drunk, I wanted to stop drinking and smoking. I was going to wait until the next day. And so I kept going in this cycle of it never changing. And I thought there was something wrong with me because I would literally like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to stop it. But I was that fly running into the wall over and over again, because what I didn't know is that there's a part of our mind, the subconscious mind, that really has these things that are, I like to call them programs. And what they are is learned habits, essentially, that your mind runs. So it's kind of like your subconscious mind's like a supercomputer, and it is running programs like you can imagine, like Microsoft Office, or a video game program like League of Legends or World of Warcraft, or whatever programs you constantly use, Skype, Zoom, right, Facebook, if you have a Facebook app, or just Internet Explorer, or whatever internet browser you use. It has a program, and it allows you to do certain things, and it performs certain functions. Now, just like that, your subconscious mind, your mind has these programs. And what you need to know is that your subconscious mind, you're operating from those programs. 90 to 95% of your daily actions, thoughts, and urges come from your subconscious mind, meaning that these programs highly influence your life. And so when I was sober, these programs would activate saying, hey, you're sober right now. We have a program to be high or drunk so you don't feel your pain, so you can avoid the pain of the reality you're in. Because to me, my subconscious mind thought that was the safest thing for me to do, and it had learned that from society, from seeing my parents drink. And I don't blame my parents at all, because they had the same influence as me. But I learned it because everyone around you drinks, right? What's the most common way to relax is to watch people drink or get high or do some form of drug, find their vice. And so I was actually mixing multiple vices at the same time, getting high, getting drunk, and I was playing video games or distracting myself with TV shows and movies. And so I was always finding a way to avoid the pain and my current reality, because my current reality was, at that time, I was in debt, and I was not working a job that I could be proud of. I put that in quotations because it was all mindset at that point. But I had graduated from college with an economics degree, and I couldn't get a job. I applied many places, and I just couldn't get any jobs with my economics degree. And so I was still working at the same job I was at in college as a manager at a taco cart, which paid pretty well. But during the winters, we didn't have consistent hours. And so I started to lose money, and I wouldn't make some of the smartest choices at the same time. And so I ended up in credit card debt, and I was, hiding from that fact. And it got to the point where I actually had to move back with my parents. And I remember calling my mom and feeling really embarrassed and saying, just, we're in credit card debt. I don't know how I'm going to pay rent. Is there any possibility we can move back with you? And I remember my mom, oh yeah, honey, it's okay. You can definitely move back in with us. We're always here for you. And I was very grateful I had that opportunity, but it was embarrassing because obviously I didn't want to have to move back in with my parents when I was living with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. It was embarrassing. We had to live in the same room. We were We had all of our stuff in a storage unit. It was a hard situation, but I got into that situation because I was that fly. I was that bird who just kept running into the window over and over and not seeing what I was doing wrong, why I was hitting that window. And that window was really my subconscious mind, which is essentially like a brick wall, because oftentimes when we're trying to make that progress, right, whether it be eat healthy or start working out, quit alcohol, quit marijuana, start working on a side business, stop, go to bed earlier, whatever that may be, right? You're taking actions consciously and you're moving along. And then here comes this brick wall that's your subconscious mind. You go right on into it and you stop. And then you stagger back a couple steps. So you go forward maybe a couple steps, but you go back a couple steps back, and you're back to right where you began, or sometimes even farther back, because you never actually made any progress. And then oftentimes you're gonna, things are gonna get worse at the time because you didn't really address anything. Especially if you keep in that cycle for a long time, and it's like a compounding effect. So it's really important you find a way to become more aware of when you're in that situation. And the good news is that you are a conscious individual. That's one of the things that differentiates us from animals, from insects, from whatever it is, right? We have conscious minds. We are spirits. We're able to think and look down at us and like, what are we doing? What are my actions doing? Is this action going to take me towards the life I want or away from the life I want, right? You got to start to be more consciously aware. And I think a big part of that is understanding how the subconscious mind works. So if you understand what I just told you with the subconscious mind, then you might realize that, hey, a lot of my actions I'm not actually in charge of. A lot of my actions, are just coming from my programs. And where you may be wondering, where do these programs come from, right? If all this, if it's just, automatically happening, these are just automatic programs, like driving. Like if you ever been driving and you're just like thinking about the things you're going to be doing that night, what you're going to be making for dinner, what you're going to be doing at work, who you're going to be talking to, about whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you're at work and you're like, wait, how did I get to work? Your subconscious mind was running that subconscious mind driving program, and it was taking you there. So you were still driving. And obviously it's better to be more aware of that, but sometimes it happens, right? And you still make it to work safe. So what is going on? It's your subconscious mind taking over, just like when you're brushing your teeth. All these things you had to learn how to do. And, a good way to test it out, try brushing your teeth with your other hand. See if you can just focus. If you can just think about other things. Usually you're gonna have to put more focus into brushing your teeth with the other hand if you haven't done it very often. And that's because you don't have that subconscious program built for that hand. But when you do it with your dominant hand, it's just second nature. You don't have to even think about it, right? So this is one of the main differences. This is what your subconscious mind does. And you learn these programs from your life experiences, from all the things in your environment, and a lot of it comes from when you're a child between the ages of 2 and 7. And that's, kids can learn so quickly. We have, so your subconscious mind is super highly active at that point. We have these things called mirrored neurons when we're kids that are hyperactive as well. And mirrored neurons are really just when you're watching someone else do something, your brain is lighting up the same way. And kids are learning so much from the things that they're watching. So when you see your parents drinking, when you see your parents smoking, when you see your parents doing certain things, their brains are lining up the same exact way, or your brain was lining up the same exact way. And so you learned that program through them. And that's why it's so important you be aware of the things that you're programming with yourself with. Even as adults, it's still happening. It's maybe not to quite the effect as when you're a kid, because a lot of those programs are really, really more settled in when you're a kid and have a much, deeper effect. But it can still happen when you're an adult. And so what you need to learn how to do is become more aware of those programs that are running. Like, hey, look, every time I'm sober, I'm choosing to drink alcohol. Why might that be? How can I stop that program? And it could just be becoming aware of it. And when you're having that urge, that thought pops into your head, hey, we should drink some alcohol. Like, where did that come from? Is that from my subconscious program? Well, yeah, it is, right? And then you can start to take actions to step away from it and say, I don't drink. That's a perfect thing to say. A lot of people, when they're trying to quit alcohol, quit smoking marijuana, this is something I used to do. Is I say, I'm trying not to drink. I'm trying not to smoke. When you're telling yourself that, what are you really saying? You're saying, I'm trying not to, but I want to, right? That's really what's implying. So, I'm trying not to do it. Well, what is trying implying? Is that you might fail, right? I'm going to try at this. That's like giving your excuse, giving yourself an out. If I try and I fail, that's okay because I gave it my all, right? I tried. Well, telling yourself that sets that expectation in your mind. Your subconscious mind's like, okay, he already knows he might fail. So it's okay because this is our program. We should definitely make sure he fails so we can stick with the program because this is what we learned is the safest route within our society. And that's what your subconscious mind likes to do. It's also the path of least resistance. So you can think about this as nature always follows the path of least resistance, kind of like a stream. When you have a stream going down a path, right? It's always going to go down the path of least resistance. If you block that path, it's going to find a new path of least resistance. So oftentimes the stream will split off to the side and start going someplace else, but it'll keep trying to flow because that's the path of least resistance, right? So just like your mind has a path of least resistance. And then what it is from one neuron to another neuron, which is just fancy pants terms for like one point in your brain to another part of your brain that has this pathway built. And that's really what these programs are. That's really what these pathways are, these habits are, is your mind thinks, oh, path of least resistance, it goes here. So when we're sober and we're feeling like we're in pain, a great way to deal with it is alcohol. A great way to deal with it is marijuana. A great way to deal with it is distracting myself with video games, right? And this is for me. It may be different for you. You might be using something different to distract yourself, to avoid that pain, to whatever it may be, to continue eating the junk food. But this is why you are drawn down that path. And this is why you're continuing to take the same action over and over again and expecting a different result because, or maybe you're not even expecting a different result. You're not even thinking about that, right? It's just unconscious, subconsciously taking these actions and not even thinking about it consciously because your subconscious mind doesn't think logically. It doesn't think, oh, this is good or bad for me. It just takes in this information, doesn't reject any information, anything from your environment. I mean, social media, movies, TV shows, books, things your teacher said, things your friend said, things your parents said, things a doctor said, things the government says, things news say, right? Whatever it is, your subconscious mind's pulling it all in and not rejecting any of it, and then taking the most pertinent information and turning it into programs so we can stay safe within society, so we can use the least amount of energy to survive. And that's really what it is. And so the problem is surviving doesn't always mean you're going to be thriving. And that's what overcoming self-sabotage is about, is ending that cycle of just surviving it, making it day by day, and turning your life into where you're thriving, you're enjoying life, you're loving life, you're exhilarated by life, you're making money, you're creating amazing relationships, you're working out, you feel great, you'll feel strong, right? That's what overcoming self-sabotage is about, is turning it into that thriving situation. And to do that, you need to become more aware of when you get trapped in this self-sabotaging cycle. So this is really what the podcast was supposed to be about. And I hope you guys learned a lot of information from it. Now, once again, do your best not to be that red bird. Be your best not to be that fly just hitting the wall over and over again, and start to become more aware of the programs that you're running. Start to become more aware of when you're taking these actions, despite the fact, and you keep taking the same actions over and over. You could probably think about it now. Is there any actions you've been taking over and over and over again? Have you been the bird? Have you been that fly? Are you being the fly or the bird right now in life? It's likely you are. Sometimes actually I just found myself in that same spot. And that's why I decided to work with Nakula Das, because I was taking the same spots, the same actions over and over again with my business, and I wasn't getting the places I wanted to be, right? I'm still working at Wells Fargo. I'm not working full time in my business when this is something that I really want in my life. So I was hitting my head, wasting all my energy like a fly on the wall, like a fly on the glass, like the red cardinal bird hitting into the wall. And I needed to take a step back and to take a different perspective. And so that brings me to my last point before we end this, is that every time I've made major growth in my life has been when I stepped back and I asked someone else for help, because I could have maybe figured it out myself. It would have taken likely a lot longer if I would have, you know, if I would have just done it all on my own. And I'm not sure if I would be here where I am today, which I think it's really important I got to where I am today, because it's changed my life drastically for the better. I'm now a better role model for my son. I now just enjoy life more. I don't distract myself. I don't sedate myself from my pain, because I enjoy my life, and I know that pain, if I am feeling it, is there to turn me towards my best life, to use it as motivation, as a teacher, so I can understand why I'm there and how I can move forward. But every time, I've experienced that self-sabotage, like when I was drinking and trying to stop that, right? I learned from Jason Christoff, who's the self-sabotage, the master self-sabotage coach who taught me. I learned from him why I was doing it, and then it literally changed my life. That information is life changing. So that's why I started becoming the coach, to teach you guys as well, teach anyone who's really willing to listen. And that's why is one of my passions, to teach people, because this information is literally life changing. I went from feeling like I was a broken individual, like I was a bird running into the wall over and over again, or a fly running into the window over and over again, to someone who's moving towards his dreams and goals, and not just constantly taking the same actions over and over again. Now, obviously, it still happened, but I was able to be more consciously aware, and I caught myself much sooner, because I was doing the drinking and the alcohol and the marijuana for so long, and I never noticed that I was in that cycle. Which may sound silly, but many of us don't, right? Many of us don't realize that. And my point is, where I created the most major changes in my life is when I reached out and helped and got help from someone else. And with today's day and age, with the internet, there's really no excuse. There's so much information out there, so many people, so many coaches, so many mentors, so many people you can really get that information from, who've been where you are, have got over that hump. So if this is speaking to you at all, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to talk to you more about, where you might be that bird running into the wall, or that fly running into the I guess not the wall, right? The window. And we can talk about, where you're needing help with that self-sabotage, and some solutions. So, and we can just hop on a free Zoom call, no obligation or anything. We can just talk, where you're needing help. So I'll put the link down below in the description. Sign up if you're interested. Reach out to me through direct message if you have any questions. And I look forward to talking to you guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed this podcast. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, share it with other people. Comment down below if you've been that fly or that red bird. If you've been like me, taking the same action over and over again, and either expecting different results or not even realizing that you were doing that. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and thank you for listening. This is Self-Sabotage Solutions. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and today's the day that you're going to start making changes, because you're going to become more consciously aware. Thank you for listening.